Hello, welcome. So excited to be here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I know we're going to have folks trickling in over the next couple of minutes. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today. I want to go ahead and make sure we dive in, make sure we've got some time. But if you are dialing in, would love to see if you go to the chat on the right side of your screen, would love to see where you're dialing in from. And also, if you've got an event coming up soon, would love to hear when and where that's taking place, and maybe we can live vicariously through you and cool travel that you're getting to do, which would be very jealous of that, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for joining our webinar, How to Create Event Sites That Wow Attendees. We've got a ton of great content for you. We can jump ahead and do quick intros. My name's Shay. You probably haven't seen me yet. I just joined Swogo a couple months ago to lead customer marketing. I'm based in Atlanta, really excited to be here and to really get to know a lot of the great event folks that work with Swogo today. Colleen, I'll throw it to you to intro yourself.
Hi, thanks, Shay. I'm Colleen Ondo. I am new to Swogo as well. I'm creative lead on the pro services team, however, not unfamiliar with the product. So I've been working with Swogo for years in my previous design event jobs. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks. Trish?
Great. I'm Trish Knox, owner at TK Events. We produce both in-person and virtual events in our virtual platform. We support clients globally with teams in Toronto, Vancouver, and London, UK. We have dedicated registration and event technology teams and have been Swogo users for over 10 years. So we're looking forward to sharing how we use Swogo today. And over to Pete.
Hey, thanks, Trish. Hey, guys. I'm Peter, head of product based in Toronto, and my role sits somewhere between event delivery and all the custom technology that powers it. So I'll be sharing some examples today on how we've used Swogo to solve some of our event challenges, anywhere from registration logic to hybrid access. So yeah, looking forward to chatting.
Amazing. Yes, very excited to be here. Before we kind of dive in, wanted to do a quick poll just to sort of set the stage and see where everybody is. So if you go where the chat is, there should be a little tab where you can click poll. I see a couple people have already been answering that, which is fantastic. Would love to know where you see the most room for improvement on your event sites. Is it more of the strategy behind your design and your layout? Is it more of actually selling the value of your event and the copy that goes on the site? Is it more about the technical Swogo component? How are you personalizing that registration flow and creating really good experiences for your attendees? Or maybe it's some combination or all of the above. Would love to get some feedback and see where you all are, so we can kind of talk through that on today. Let's talk through the agenda really quick while the poll's kind of going, and then we can check back in on that. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. Already mentioned the chat there. Please leverage that if you've got any comments, questions, feedback as we're going. We have an amazing person from our support team, Mari, who's going to be monitoring the chat for any more of the technical questions. But we've also got time dedicated to the end of the session today to really dive in on some of those questions. If you leave a question and we don't have time to get to it today, we'll follow up with you. So don't let that be a reason to not ask. Please drop your questions in. And then tomorrow you can expect an email from me with a recording of the webinar, as well as some additional content just that's relevant to the things that we're discussing today. So please keep an eye out for that. As far as the actual agenda, what we're going to chat about today, Colleen's going to kick us off, giving some, I would say, like combination high level strategic tips on how you're creating goals for your event site, how really that applies to the layout and design of your site, and then also going deep on a really good customer example that kind of brings those concepts together. And then Trish and Pete from TK are going to talk through two actual customer examples that were built on Swogo. The first being a multi-city event series, and the second being a kind of sort of hybrid virtual experience where we'll talk about the actual custom reg flow that was built and this really cool virtual event experience. Q&A, time permitting, and then I always want to leave with some more specific takeaways. We've got a lot of content to cover, so I want to make sure that everybody feels good about some actionable stuff to go and do after this. So let's check back in on the poll just out of curiosity here. Okay, not super surprising. It looks like a majority of people are saying design, layout, branding, more of the creative components of your site. And then a good number of people that are saying all of it. We can do more with all of it, which is great. Sort of a leading question, like trying to tease out. We're talking about all of it. So no matter what you're here for, you're going to get some good stuff. Colleen, let me go ahead and throw it to you to dive in.
All right, here we go, everyone. Okay, so before we get into designer content, let's talk about why your site exists. Sure, your event has goals, but your website has its own job to do. And when you define those goals early, every design and content decisions gets way easier. So I want you to think beyond just hosting the event. Your site promotes speakers, builds anticipation, shares needs to know information, and converts registrations. It's your first impression and your digital home base. So your event site isn't for you, it's for your attendees. So the more you understand who they are and what they need, the more helpful, engaging, and effective your site will be. So make sure you design with the right audience in mind, such as who are you talking to? A first timer needs different info than a returning attendee. So what do they need? Think about tone, visuals, and the flow of content based on where they are in the journey. When do they need it? Before, during, after, during and or after the event. So your structure matters, of course. So think about your navigation as the roadmap, build around what your attendees need. Once again, the attendees. So most sites follow a flexible structure. There's home, agenda, speakers, registration, FAQs, etc. Those are the foundations of your site. And you want to keep things clear and intuitive. The SWOGO themes help you choose, help you strike that balance between function and flair. So design isn't just about making your event site look good. It's about making sure it works. So once you know what content belongs on your site, the layout is what brings it to life. A beautiful page is great, but one thing that is functional and easy to digest is what drives real action. So good design isn't about looking polished. It's about making it easy for every attendee to absorb that information, find out what they need, and take action quickly. It starts with the foundation, a strong layout, accessible color choices, and clear and legible typography. Really smart for, in this day and age, for sure, accessibility. So these elements shape how users experience your site instantly and ensure that experience is inclusive for everyone. And then once your foundation is solid, the next layer is about using visuals that enhance and not compete with your content. Thoughtful imagery, intuitive icons, and accessible, responsive design add personality to your event site while keeping usability and clarity front and center. And there's not a lot on these slides, but you can review them later. Remember, good design is also about timing and flow. So be intentional about when and how people access information. Maybe roll out your speakers gradually to encourage repeat visits. If they're a major draw, feature them right on the homepage. Tease the agenda for sure with headliners and release details closer to the event. So the goal is a site that feels dynamic and alive and not static like a brochure. You always want to keep it moving, keep it updated, keep people coming back. And then finally, great communication is about clarity and tone and trust. So a little cleverness in your copywriting can be good depending on your audience. Your event site is guiding someone through a decision to register, to attend, and to engage. So whether it's a headline or a button or speaker bio, every word should earn its place by being useful and clear and in the right voice for your audience. So let's take a quick look at a site that does a really good job with encompassing all of what I just went over. This wealth event brought people together to discuss transforming their health. It was led by visionaries and filled with high-end activities to help chart the future of wellness. So this site speaks directly to its target audience, which is professionals interested in wellness. The language is approachable, but informed, matching the expected tone. And then you can see visually the design is clean and modern with a limited color palette, but maps to the meaning of the word eudaimonia. So that's a Greek word meaning good spirit, but it encompasses a deeper concept of living a fulfilling good life. Here, the topography is simple. The color palette is limited, but reflective of the elevated event experience. And there's subtle accent colors that highlight key actions without a lot of distraction. And then there's on these, I love this, you scroll down the homepage here, and there's the thoughtful use of intuitive icons and interactive elements that I think offer more info in a fun and intuitive way without, once again, overwhelming the viewer and the user. So there's more content to be viewed, but there's ways to get around tons of copy on a page. And then I love this experience of this registration. So after you click a registration button on the nav, it brings you to this page where there's visuals, the actual badge types, and the corresponding content featuring a detailed bulleted list of what the badges get you and the pricing, which I think is really great. There's a couple more on this page, of course. So when you get through that and you choose which badge you want, you also click through to the next page that has a summary. You can see everything in their own containers again, but one has a different type of summary of what the badge types are, just in a different layout for like one last review. And you can go back and forth if you want. And so then once you choose your quantity, you continue on with the registration process. It's pretty seamless. So I know that was a lot, but in summary, the foundations of building event sites that wow come down to strategy, structure, content, and design. And they all work together in a cohesive experience. So you want to make sure you're designing with intention, speak directly to your audience, and deliver the right information at the right time. It's critical. So basically, that's how you create a site that doesn't inform, but just inspires action. So there you go.
Thanks, Colleen. A couple questions in the chat that I think are relevant for right now. Allie and Amy both asking how much of the eudaimonia example is from like a standard Swoogo template versus something custom work that maybe you were working on?
Yeah, I would say that it definitely started from the standard, but there was a lot more customization for sure that our team did, and they did a fabulous job with it. But we have plenty of amazing themes that you can either take right out of the box, and we can work with you to build a great site just using everything that's in that theme. But we have the flexibility to make some updates and coding and dev work. But that site in particular was definitely more unique dev design for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think sort of going back to the original point on selecting a theme and really aligning it to what you're doing is the critical piece here. You're not just picking the theme that you might think looks the best. It's what are you trying to have your audience get out of your site? And that's how it should be structured and therefore themed.
Yep.
Excellent. Let's jump over, Trish, for you to kind of give us an overview on the TK event side, what we're going to be taking a look at today, and then we can sort of dive into an example. Colleen, if you want to jump ahead, there we go.
We've got a couple of examples to share with you. And I think where we want to start is, first of all, we love the fact that Swoogo gives us total control. So page layout, even the order of your pages and the visibility and what that journey is going to be can be tailored per project. So you're not stuck in certain templates. Every build for us starts with a strategic reg brief. So we define user pathways upfront. There's conditional logic in Swoogo that allows us to deliver distinct journeys based on attendee profiles. And our hybrid virtual experiences are planned really before a single page is built and not patched in after. So, you know, we're strategic and not reactive. And we've got a really good idea of what that user journey should be. So if you go on to our first or next slide with some of the examples we're going to share. The first one is a multi-city event series, and it was a national series. Pete will take you through with consistent branding and flow across multiple cities. It's a really great example of using the client's brand assets, but we had a lot of conversations with the client around, should it be 3 separate events, 3 separate invites, 3 separate landing pages? And they really wanted their customers to understand that this was part of a bigger initiative, a bigger program. So we landed on a landing page that allowed you to then select the city that you would attend in. There's easy navigation. We segmented registration by city and audience. We built in a comms plan to boost engagement, and we hyped the destinations. So I'll turn it over to Pete to take you through a bit of an example of the site.
Yeah, thanks, Trish. So just to go into a little bit more detail here. So this series was designed, as Trish said, as a national roadshow. So it's all one brand. It's 3 different cities, and we tried to make it as seamless as possible. So the landing page that you're looking at here is the one master event that we created in Sugo. So this serves as that central landing page. It's just like a sort of like a branded hub that just kind of introduces the whole series. As you can see here, it routes attendees to the 3 individual city events. So each city had its own reg flow, its own agenda, its own speaker lineup, and it all updated using the same core template. So again, we have three different cities, so 3 events plus the master event, which is the page that you're looking at. And you're looking at some of the built-in widgets that we used here in Sugo. We took full advantage of that. We had an agenda builder, so I'll just click into maybe one of the cities here. So we had an agenda builder. We made it easy to kind of showcase all the dynamic sessions, all the schedules in the city. We had a speaker widget that helped us highlight bios. We had a map here at the top, which you were able to embed to ensure attendees could quickly find their venue details. So all these tools, again, built in with Sugo, really helped us stay agile. And it really helped us curate this quite quickly. I know your example, Colleen, was quite lovely on the design side, but I think showcasing this also goes to show that you don't always need a whole design team to do this. You can go in here as an event planner and build your own registration site. So we did also want to have a bit of like a visual hook here with some of the carousel items, just to kind of layer in some of the messaging and build some of that destination specific excitement.
I think the other thing on, before going live with registration, we've talked a lot about what's the why attend. So ensuring that you do have an agenda and speakers and the why do I really need to be there. So as much information as you can before hitting invites and going live is a really key component as well.
One quick question that we got in the chat while we're on this, Peter, question from Paolo. For the individual city websites, are updates made within their respective build, or is there an opportunity to update all the sites at a global level?
That's a great question. I think if I understood that correctly, it was either changing the specific event details per event or being able to do that from the master event. In that case, you would need to change it on the event level. You probably would want to do that just because there's a difference in speakers, there's a difference in all these minor event details, especially with sessions. So I would definitely make those changes on the event level.
Yeah, that makes sense. Question from Mallory here. Is each event set up as a session within one event, or do the register buttons link to other event reg sites? So I think that's more thinking about the sort of holistic attendee experience.
Yeah, that would be the latter. So, I mean, it might look a little different here, but under the hood, we're essentially just adding a URL to the homepage of the new event for each button. So it's a completely different event, but you can access it through linking it to the master event.
Love it. Great. Well, if we've got more questions on these examples, I love seeing the questions. We can always jump back and chat about that.
Yep.
Great. So our next example is a really great example of a complex event and personalized journeys. So for this event, it's a member organization. We wanted attendees to connect via SSO through Salesforce. And at that point, they were flagged as members or non-members. And that's where the journeys kind of ended up going in different directions of what they were able to register for, what they were able to even select. So based on that flagged, they are routed into a custom registration experience. And this logic continued into the virtual events where members accessed more content and non-members had limited views. So one platform, multiple journeys. And we use CRM SAML integrations to verify user types and trigger custom experiences. So I'm going to turn it over to Pete to share some examples, or the example of the site with you, but some really great notes about flexibility and some of the control you can have.
Yeah, thanks, Trish. Yeah, so going into a little bit more detail here. So for this event, it was a pretty complex hybrid structure. We had people attending an event in person, and we had a virtual platform to supplement everyone who couldn't make it. But we all managed it from a single Sugo build. So you'll see here, we have our registration page. The only difference here is that for the actual event, we use the third-party platform to connect what's called a SAML integration with Salesforce. So if you are using a CRM, I mean, a lot of people use Salesforce. We'll use that as what's called the identity provider, and then Sugo will be the service provider. So you can funnel all of your attendees from a particular CRM, and depending on how you connect all that data, upon landing on this registration page, we'll know whether they are a member or a non-member. So just for demo's sake, I do have this option available for me to select. So you'll see here that if I toggle from member to non-member, you immediately see that there's a change in the logic in terms of what the registration pathway is going to look like. So the membership status is triggered. It triggers different registration flows, different pathways, and it's all using Sugo's built-in logic. So I'll just jump ahead right into the virtual platform here and give you guys an example of what that could look like. I'm just going to swap tabs here. Sometimes it's a bit slow.
Yeah, I think for the virtual event, one of the things that we were able to do is really combine audiences. So the audience that was in person were on at the same time in the general sessions as the virtual audience, and they were all able to take part in Q&A and polls, and the virtual audience could hear the laughter in the room, and we get a lot of feedback from attendees about how they feel like they're part of the event or in the room. But that opportunity for all audiences to participate at the same time was really key.
Yeah. And again, just going back into the virtual platform here. So a lot of that logic that we talked about, whether you're a member or a non-member, dictates what you're able to do inside the venue. So for example, here, I'm logged in as a member. So I have access to all these different rooms. I can go into a breakout room. I can see a talk. I can open the attendee chat because I've opted in through registration to be able to participate in the chat. And so what would this look like if I hadn't opted in or if I wasn't a member? So I'll swap again over to another tab here where I've gone through registration. I'm a non-member. Some people are a little bit more particular about their privacy and prefer not to be in an attendee directory. So if they were to opt out of that, you would not see them in an attendee directory. And in addition to that, if they chose not to participate in the networking chat, that response would also be carried out into the venue. So I'll just wait for the tab here to swap, and we can see what that will look like. You'll see the navigation bar as well change. So now that what we're looking at now is a non-member's view of the virtual platform who has chosen not to opt into the chat. So if they go to use the chat, you'll see here that in registration, because they chose not to opt in, they would no longer have access to that feature. Or if they were not a member, they would not have access to potentially some premium content in the breakout rooms, and they would see that content is locked. So just to highlight, what we can do here with a lot of this conditional logic. And again, what made this work so well is that Sugo's ability to integrate with other tools, again, using third-party software and a lot of different API connections, we're able to sync with different CRMs. And again, for example, the Salesforce integration that we're using for this specific event. So I think the takeaway here is that everything looks really cohesive on the front end, but behind the scenes, it was highly personalized and it was a highly data-driven experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter. Sorry, I was scrolling through the chat. We're getting a lot of good questions.
That's great.
Fantastic. can dive into a bunch of those. I wanted to make a quick note. I saw a comment on, hey, it would be great to have a webinar that talks through simple coding and things that we can leverage there. I just wanted to acknowledge I love that idea. We'll definitely be adding that to the list. Also want to tease out, we are working on a new product update for some custom code widgets that will be coming out soon that you can use to sort of replicate some of the code from event to event. So you're not kind of starting from scratch. But yeah, a dedicated session, just educating on sort of simple approaches, I think is a really good idea. Colleen, wanted to throw to you for the first question here. In the eudaimonia example, question around the enhanced icons and graphics, just curiosity around like how those were created.
Absolutely. In this case, once again, the client had a full-on design brand guidelines, which is always very helpful. That, I mean, anyone should have those, but they were very specific and they came to us with all those icons already in place. But if you don't have a design team or that luxury, there's plenty of resources out there to look at cohesive families of icons. That's the key thing, is you want to make sure they all look the same and they're all on brand for you, and you have what you need for those icons. So, and the colors can be changed out and whatnot, but basically, yeah, that was also supplied by the client. We can create them for you if you need to as well. So,
yeah. Peter, here's a good question for you, I think, from Jeremy. Talking through the hybrid virtual event, mentioning third-party software API connections, how much of that virtual experience was through using APIs and other softwares versus building native in Swoogo?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, so that platform that you were looking at was our TK Virtual Creator Studio. So that would be a separate platform. The great thing about Swoogo is we can embed that platform right into one of our Swoogo pages. And we don't actually need a SAML or a CRM integration. As long as we have a reg form and we have any kind of attendee data, we can then forward that data over to our virtual platform that can sit inside of a Swoogo page and get an event like that running.
So in the end, if once a user has created their registration and they have their username and password, that's the same credentials. They're just going to get their final communication confirmation with the link to the virtual event and sign in with the same credentials. So it just brings everything, follows the reg user ID right through the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, in short, there are APIs involved. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want that personalized experience, you have to be passing data through, and those APIs are the key to do it.
Yeah, and I think one of the benefits within Swoogo that you were showing, Peter, on the reg flow is leveraging things like the conditional logic and visibility settings in the actual registration to get the right kind of data that you want in order to build sort of that custom experience and being able to segment people. So I think that's a really important component, is going back to what Colleen was talking about at the beginning, thinking through who is your audience, what are you trying to get, how can you sort of drip feed educational content through them, stuff on the website, as well as drip feed the types of data you're getting them through something like progressive registration within Swoogo to build some of those custom experiences on the back end. Got time, I think, for probably one more question from Kimberly, and I'll throw to Colleen to you first. I always wonder how much to show on the agenda and how much to put behind more info.
Sure. Yeah, that's always a daunting task, I think, or overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. I think first and foremost, you want to make sure the title is, the content itself is engaging. So you have your title, if you can have the times, days, potentially, and then in my mind, a very short blurb of really the summation of what they're going to expect for the day. I think the more info is you see when there's a lot more content to support. You only have like 3 lines to glance through. So that's really what the more info is about. You can have a bulleted information. I mean, whatever is easy and skimmable for that person to get a handle on what they're going to expect. You don't want to give it away completely. You want to kind of tease them a little bit, I think, of what what your event is going to encompass, so you can have them start building their own personal agenda on their site. So I don't know if you have any additional, Trish or Peter.
You're just making me think about, we didn't share full on views, but just where you can expand and put the session abstracts and have it right beside as a clickable that opens up and gives you more detail as far as session abstracts go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say less is more generally, like as long as you've got the who
In the main, yeah.
and a bit of what, I think that this should be enough. I think to Colleen's point, you don't really want to give it all away.
Not too much.
You want to make sure it's accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting on my digital marketer hat, right, on how do we keep people engaged on our site, coming back, getting more information, the toggleable stuff, clickable stuff, you know, and the Eudaimonia example is really good, how it's tile cards flipping around just to keep people on the page and getting more, but it's not overwhelming you with that information as soon as you get on the page. I think is really good advice. Awesome. We can wrap up. We're like right at time here. I always want to make sure like we talk about the 4 big takeaways. Colleen, if we can jump to the next slide here, just because I know it's a lot of information, a lot of great questions. And again, we'll be sending this recording out tomorrow. The first thing being design with your attendees in mind. You have goals for your event, but you also have goals for your site. And those are connected, but not always exactly the same. So thinking about what you want folks to get away from your site is really important in thinking about the layout and the copywriting and all that good stuff. Second being visual clarity is critical. The Eudaimonia example is a really good version of this. Simplicity is your friend. White space is your friend. Don't overwhelm people with too much information. Give them the good stuff. And then understand the attendee journey. This goes to a lot of what Trish and Peter were talking about. Getting the right data at the right time allows you to build personalization in the registration flow, in the actual event experience. So make sure you're thinking through what your attendees need and what you need and when. And then the last thing, most importantly, we're here to support you. For Swoogo customers, you know, you've got your accounts team. We have our amazing customer support team, our professional services team that Colleen is a part of is here to help, as well as amazing partners like TK Events to help you sort of turn, you know, your events into exactly what you want to get out of them. And then we can jump to the last thing here, just as a quick wrap up. Would love to hear from you. I love the ideas on future webinars. You know, there's no shortage of content that we have in our minds. You can reach out to me directly, shay@swoogo.com. I would love to hear from you. I'm happy to jump on the phone and chat and get your feedback. And Colleen, maybe you could, or sorry, Trish, you can talk about sort of best ways to get in touch with TK.
Sure, thanks. Well, our website, tkevents.ca, and you can email us, info@tkevents.ca. And yeah, I feel like we just started. We could have gone on into mobile apps and gamification and sponsor ROI. There's so many things with event tech we can talk about, but look forward to connecting with you and supporting your event tech initiatives.
Awesome. Last plug I want to give for Swoogo customers. You'll see in your follow-up email tomorrow, we just launched what we're calling the Personalization Challenge, where you submit a video that's 2 to 3 minutes long of how you're using personalization within Swoogo. That can be in your reg flow, conditional logic, that can be in your email communications, whatever makes sense for personalization for you. And we'll be having other customers vote on their favorite selections, and winners get some personalized away luggage or personalized Yeti cooler, because we want to make the rewards personalized. It's the personalization challenge. How we're trying to have fun with it. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow. Would love to get some submissions from you all if you're doing cool stuff with personalization. But that's it. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much to Colleen, Trish, and Peter, to Mari and Jahan and folks from the Swoogo side I saw in the chat. Appreciate your help as well. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you on the next one.
Thanks, everyone.